An IDF spokesperson told RT it's Hamas that triggered the violence and Israel simply trying to protect its people.
Gaza is not under siege at all, at all. It's a security blockade. We have nothing, no interest in the Strip, really. Think about it, not a holy place, a tiny place, Gaza. We want to live in peace, but in the Strip there is Hamas, a terror organization affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, and they disagree to have Israel, the tiny, only Jewish state on earth. And from time to time, they launch many missiles on the neighboring settlements. And now it's an escalation. About the ground forces, we have to consider it because you have to think what will be next. If you ask me, I don't think that we will see Israeli troops in Gaza. I think that our Air Force is trying to do the best, not to harm the population, but to harm the stockpiles, etc. But let you know that the Hamas used the population as a human shield. But I want to say something about the casualties, okay? I saw in the international TV, they always try to look at it like a football or basketball match. There's just 7 casualties in Israel and 84 in the Palestinian area. And I think it's not fair, okay? Because the Israelis are trying to protect the civilians. In every house, we have a new house, we have a shelter, like in my house. We try to protect our civilians, and they deliberately put them in danger.
So if you've been following the news cycle, you may have heard that clashes erupted in Jerusalem and that hundreds of Palestinians were injured, and then rockets were fired from Gaza. But what if I told you that yet again the mainstream Western press is not putting this story in its full context, and there's a lot more that has to be said about this issue. Now, the first notion to touch on is the language that is being used by the mainstream press in its reporting that clashes erupted in order to sort of make it seem like it's a two-sided thing, when in fact on Friday night Palestinian worshippers in Masjid al-Aqsa, which is the third holiest site to Muslims during Ramadan, were attacked during prayer when they were praying at a holy site.
Al Jazeera reports 305 Palestinians were wounded, 228 have been hospitalized, with 7 in critical condition.
And this erupted into what you could call then as clashes, but with armed occupation forces on one side and Palestinians with stones and whatever they could pick up to sort of throw at the people coming at them with gas bombs and with rubber bullets on the other side, who are of course covered in protective gear. And this is what resulted in hundreds of injuries. And then of course this happened the following morning as well. And then on top of that as well, on Monday there was another eruption of violence which resulted in around 550 injuries all up, with 330 people being hospitalized as a result of it. But this issue didn't even start there. This issue started at the beginning of Ramadan, when Israeli occupation forces had been putting restrictions around the site. And of course as well, during this time they actually attacked Palestinian worshippers, Christians, at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and ignited tensions there also. And going back 2 weeks to a protest of far-right extremist Israeli settlers who took to the streets screaming "Death to Arabs" amid violence that had been taking place in the city between Palestinians and Jewish Israelis. There was then the announcement that a march would happen on Monday to celebrate Jerusalem Day for the settlers, and that these extremist settlers were then going to enter the Al-Aqsa Mosque site. So for 2 weeks, the Israeli government could have prepared and could have stopped this situation from going ahead, and was warned by all of the Palestinian armed factions, but did absolutely nothing. And in fact, Netanyahu has got in with the hardline racist Israeli settler group and actually allows some of these extremists like Otzma Yehudit, the Jewish Power Party, to be part of the government, along with the likes of Bezalel Smotrich, who heads up the Religious Zionism Party. And this figure is actually called for legislation which would make for segregated maternity wards so that Jewish women would not have to give birth in the presence of Arab women. That's how extreme this figure is. So Netanyahu surrounded himself with the settlers, endorsed the settler march. And then, after Israelis would not stop, despite the international condemnation, the process of evicting Palestinians from their homes in the area of Sheikh Jarrah inside of East Jerusalem, then we saw the violence erupt.
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? Why are you yelling at me? I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
And so there has been these altercations that have been happening since the very start of Ramadan, and way over 1,000 people have been injured during the process of this. And what you may not have heard reported accurately is the fact that instantly Israel went and killed 20 Palestinians, including 9 children in the Gaza Strip after the rocket attack had came in. No Israelis were killed in the initial rocket attack at all.
This morning, explosions in Gaza, smoke and flames rising from multiple blasts.
And so this narrative that the Palestinians are just the irrational ones who are just violent and are getting violent at a mosque and are clashing with Israeli forces is really something disingenuous. There's a long history behind all of this. There's an ongoing occupation which has been in place since 1967. There's an occupation of the West Bank, the besiegement of the Gaza Strip, and of course international condemnation and pressure coming in upon Israel at the same time with an ICC, International Criminal Court investigation into Israeli war crimes and Palestinian war crimes, by the way, but the Palestinians welcome it and the Israelis of course reject it, which may be posing sort of a little bit of a PR threat for Israel, along with the fact that one of the top human rights organizations on the planet, Human Rights Watch, and that B'Tselem, the top Israeli human rights organization, just called Israel an apartheid regime, and the fact that Israel is probably going to go to a 5th round of elections within 2 years, and Netanyahu is trying to hold on to power in order to save himself politically and even perhaps from going to jail because of the ongoing corruption trial that he is on, may have something to do with what we saw in Jerusalem. But if we were to turn to the BBC, they were just clashes. Hundreds of Palestinians were injured, the Israeli police responded, and rockets were fired from Gaza, and there's no other context. And I mean, there's that narrative, and then there's a little bit of what I just told you, which might just factor into this all and tell you a little bit more, at least, about what's going on.
So now they are begging the world to stop what it's called aggression of Israel. They ask for it, and when the Israeli come to them, they cry, they are, they are killing, look, what, you are the one who launched missiles on them. It is you. The problem was eviction a few houses, and those, they belong to the Jews, and the court judged on that. It's not like a bunch of Jews attacking houses and taking the house. There's a court order. Those houses belong to the Jews, and you Muslims, you kick them from there. When the filthy king of Jordan, he kicked those people, and now the Israeli, they took the land. Look how patient they are. They did not take their houses all those years because they are following the court. So it took many, many, many years for the court to judge and to decide. So everybody will provide his evidence. And we can see that the court of Israel evacuating Israeli, not only Palestinian, from a land they don't belong to them. Go and search. And you will see the Israeli police capturing those and fighting with them and even using violence with their own Jewish citizen because they took a land don't belong to them, according to the law, not according to the general order of the country. A bunch of Jews, they go and they took a land of somebody, he's an Arab. What the court did? They sent the police to evacuate them. This is not your land. Give the land back to the person who owned it. So it was about houses, and now how we respond for houses, we shoot missiles. And what we say in Twitter, kill them wherever you find them. And then the coward, they hide behind children's. And then when the children, they die, they say to you, do you see? They killed a child. they killed a child. They will not tell you that they are hiding behind a child, shooting at somebody, and then that somebody shoot back, and that make the child die. Who is the one responsible for the child? It is the coward who hide behind the child. And the funny, I saw a video where the Muhammadan, they were cheering for sending missiles on Gaza, in Tel Aviv and other cities in Israel. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And then when the missile of the Israeli come, and look how silly the Israeli are. They send a warning to the building where the terrorists are hiding, saying to them, we are going to knock it down. Why? Because they are afraid that many civilians, they are in the building. Okay. But how you can kill those terrorists? They send a warning. Each time they want to attack a building, they shoot a small, tiny missile as a warning, like a smoke missiles. And they wait for a few minutes, and then the second shot will come, and the third shot will come, and they will destroy the building. You are giving warning to the terrorists to run away. The Israeli, they say, well, it's true, but the purpose is not to make the terrorists run away, to make the civilian run away. So those terrorists, they are taking advantage of the good-hearted Israeli people. Let me see if this is the one. This is the video where they were cheering. No, not this one. Yeah, I'm trying to find the video where they are cheering to Allah. Allahu Akbar, brother. Allahu Akbar. And they are celebrating. They are very happy. Yeah, there's tons of videos. Anyway. The only problem I see in this war, that I don't trust this person, his name is Netanyahu. You see, in order to win a war, you do not want to have a politician as a leader. You don't want that. People who do politics, they do politics. They don't care really for what is right. So if this guy Netanyahu, he feel like he is not going to be a future prime minister, even now he is almost maybe gone, he will think always about his future as a politician, not as a future of his country. The Israeli, they need a real leader. They need someone, maybe not half of David. Someone strong. Someone is not a businessman. Someone he is willing to do whatever it takes. We will see in the coming few days what this Netanyahu will do. Is he going to back down and waste the opportunity to destroy those terrorists for good? Is he going to make a deal like as every time they go and attack you and you let them go? And then, you know, the king of Jordan or the president of Egypt, he says to you, we will make them agree to cease fire for the coming year. And what does that mean? The coming year you are going to kill our children? Who is the stupid here? the coming year. Those people, they sign a peace agreement already with Israel. In return, the stupid government of Israel gave their own land to them. This is the land of the Jews. They gave them the East Bank, they gave them Gaza, and they thought, the stupid government of Israel, they thought that if we do that, they will leave us alone. Good luck with that. They are just fooling themselves. This war is religious war. It's not about land. And because it is religious war, as long as this religion exists, the war against you will never stop. Because their prophets say to them that this is a war should continue until the judgment day. And when a Jew hide behind me, the rocks say, come and kill him. Always remember that. Thank you all. May the Lord protect you. If you like, feel free to download my videos, share them with your friends, add subtitle to your language, and we appreciate those who support us as always. Christ is Lord, and Islam is false, and Israel belong to the children of Israel, which even the stupid Quran keeps calling them the children of Israel. Israel belong to Israel. Got it? You better do. Take care.